So now I want to continue to add a few extra elements to our scene. Alright, so once again I'm just going to drag my game view over this side so that I can see that. And I actually want a moon in the background. So what I'm going to do here is click Game Object, 3D Object, and just a new quad. Okay, that's fine where it is. I'll just name this Moon. And in the assets that I gave you, mobile game resources, we've obviously got our texture of our moon. Now at the moment it's just a texture. We do need to convert this into a material. So right click, choose create a new material, and I'll call it moon matte, as in moon material. Most materials when you first create them are the standard shader. Okay, we actually want this to be mobile and unlit. Now we can just drag this sprite directly into the base, or rather it's a texture rather, and then we've got our 3D physical moon going on there. Okay, so now I can just drag this material directly onto there. Now let me just see what's happened there. It's not got the transparency, so let me click mobile. Oh, no, don't want vertex lit, that's not as good. Particles and multiply, no, oh no, that's not very good. Particles and additive, ooh, that's not so great either. Alpha blended, there we go. Okay, now basically it's got rid of that background. With a texture like that, when we're placing it onto a 3D element, particularly when we're using mobile, a lot of them will not recognize the alpha elements, so we're just using the particle one, and since it's going to basically always be up against this black background element, it shouldn't cause any sort of an issue. So at the moment it's not rendering because it's too far away from our camera. So what we want to do with this moon is basically just bring it forward until we can see it. I'm going to bring it up, and then I'm just going to make the size of this a little bit bigger. Let's try 5 by 5. No, that's not bad. Maybe 3 by 3. That's better. And then just get it into a position where you like its position on the screen. And now we've got a moon. Alright, so it makes it slightly more realistic now because you actually believe that that's a night sky and not just a black background. Once again, that is never going to move, so let's make sure that we mark this as static. It doesn't need a mesh collider. Mesh collider is basically a physics object that will stop other objects from passing through it. No need, nothing's ever going to get close to it. So let's right click and remove that. Okay, and I'm just going to parent the moon to the ground. Another thing about static batching, if you've got these objects, even though they may be marked as static but they're in separate positions on the hierarchy, sometimes it will not be static batched. Whereas if you parent them all to one object, it has to read them sequentially like this, and then basically it will static batch them all together. Now what I want is basically some border walls. So that's what I have the dungeon for. If I can find where that is, I think it might be, is it JMO? Nope, that's the cartoon effects. Stylized and painted dungeon free. So if we go to the prefabs, we should have one that's called a wall. Alright, we're just basically going to use this. So I'm just going to drag this into the scene. I might put it over this side, just here like this. And maybe just make this a little bit bigger. So instead of 1, let's make this a scale of 2 by 2 on the Y. Alright, so it's a really tall wall. And then I just want to rotate this one around. So it's around 90 degrees on the Y. And there we go. Alright. Now it is using the standard material shader, so, and it is basically just one texture, that's all it is. It doesn't have any extra elements. So let's click on mobile and unlit, and instantly it looks a lot nicer. And we're just going to basically piece these together now. So we need multiple items of these walls. So let's Control and D to duplicate. And if you've seen my other free tutorial on modular designs, you'll know how to do this very easily. We just basically add a little bit of a gap between them, and we hold V on the keyboard. That allows us then to vertex snap. And in this little square, we just click and drag until it snaps together. Alright, and then you don't notice the difference between them. Control and D again. Let's move this one over here. Once again, let's just press V and click and drag. Alright, and it snaps. So we're going to create a big wall on this side. So I might take all three of those walls. Control and D, and let's drag it this way. Let's get close, let's press V and snap. And once again, let me take all three of these, Control and D. Just press V and snap. Okay, I think that should be enough going that way. So now we've got all those walls, so I'm just going to take this last one, Control and D. And then I'm just going to rotate it back so it's 0 on the Y. Going to bring this down to the bottom here, and then I'm just going to kind of snap the corner bit together. So let's just come this way. Let's hold V and snap the bottom into place there. But we've got a little bit of a gap, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to manually just force that forward. Alright, there we go. Now you'll notice you can't tell the difference between the corner pieces. Alright, that's good. So if you've rotated your camera and you're looking behind you, all you'll see is a wall. Alright, it's not going to look unusual or anything. Control and D. Let's move it this way and then just snap these, so V and snap together. Take both of these items, Control and D. Snap together again, so just hold V. Let's take all four of these, Control and D. And hold V and just snap. There we go. Still need a few more, so I'll take maybe all four of these, Control and D. And then hold V and just snap. Alright, very good. And now basically I'm just going to create another wall like that one. So let's take the very last one, the number 19 for some reason was the last one. Control and D, and let's rotate around again, and this time I'm going to go back to 90. They are exactly the same texture on both sides. And I'm just going to drag this back here and up here, and then basically just snap the corners together. There we go, and I'm just going to manually push that one forward until I get the edge. There we go. Let's start going forward again. So Control and D, let's bring this one forward. V, and let's just snap. Take both of those items, Control and D. Press V and snap. Take all four items, Control and D. Let's bring those forward. Press V and snap. And there we go, pretty much. They're roughly about online. And so, yeah, now we've got our nice surrounding walls. So when our camera's rotating, what we're going to see is walls on both sides, and it's going to look like we're actually inside of some sort of a cemetery. If you wanted to carry those walls on, obviously you could do, but I think that should be fine. Now all of those walls do have the exact same texture. Now it is a slightly different texture, a different material to these items, so it does add one extra set pass call, and it will also add one extra draw call, as long as we do set all of these to static. So let's just select all of these items, let's mark them all as static, and then let's drag them all onto the ground. Great, keeps them all together, sequential. So now in the game, even though we can only see one of them there, in our profiler we just want to double check, make sure there's no issues. So let's just press play. Let it get started a bit, and then press pause, click anywhere, and rendering, and we've now got 6 draw calls. Okay, because don't forget we added the moon as well. So we've got 5 set pass calls, that's the ground, these items, the trees, the moon, and the walls. Okay, and then obviously 6 separate draw calls, because the draw call also has to draw the background as well. Okay, that's why there's always one extra. Exactly the same amount of triangles and vertices, roughly, only slightly more. And we've got batch draw calls of 24, which is interesting, but we've got 2 batches this time. Okay, I wonder if I got exactly 24 walls, that's weird. Okay, the used textures is around 110 megabytes. It's only using 5 textures, which is great. We're keeping that really small. And our render textures has gone up to roughly 55 megabytes. It's using 7 now. Alright, excellent. Yes, I'm quite happy with that. So what we're going to do in the next video is actually get our camera to start moving.